Minister Kit Malthouse.
Mr. Speaker, as we forge a new relationship with the European Union, building the homes our country needs is a mission more important than ever, because a home is so much more than a roof over your head. It speaks directly to your hopes and dreams. It's giving your...
Order! The Minister's speaking about an important subject. We must hear what he's saying. Minister!
As I was saying, building the homes our country needs is a mission that is now more important than ever, because a home is so much more than a roof over your head. It speaks directly to your hopes and dreams. It's giving your children a good start in life. It's moving to take up a better job. It's anchoring yourself in a strong and confident community. But for too many, particularly young people, a decent, affordable and secure place to live can feel out of reach. We remain determined that this must change. Housing is this government's chief domestic priority, and our progress is already clear. For the first time in 10 years, home ownership amongst 35 to 44-year-olds is up. We've helped over 500,000 people into home ownership since 2010 through government schemes such as Help to Buy and Right to Buy, and last year we built more homes than in all but one of the last 31 years, bringing us closer to our ambitious target of 300,000 new homes a year. But there is much more to do if we are to meet people's aspiration.
Thank the Minister for giving way, and would he apologise to all those who are sat waiting and languishing on homelessness waiting lists across the country?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, I have many times from this dispatch box and elsewhere accepted the fact that governments of all stripes over the last 3 or 4 decades have failed to build the houses that the country needs. And we all share some culpability in the housing crisis which we are now facing. The question is not how it came about, but what we're doing to address it. And when I took on this role last year, I made my task a simple one: more, better, faster homes. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll begin with more, because we are taking bold action on a number of fronts to increase supply. We are putting billions into housing and infrastructure, at least 44 billion over 5 years. We're reforming planning and have empowered Homes England, our new national housing agency, to take a more strategic and assertive approach to increasing supply. We've recently announced the award of 1.2 billion of grant funding from our 5.5 billion Housing Infrastructure Fund. The 7 successful schemes have the potential to unlock up to 68,000 new homes, and we look forward to announcing further awards in the coming months. But we're not only looking to the market to deliver. We've paved the way for a new generation of social housing by removing the government cap on how much councils can borrow, so that they can start to build a new generation of community homes. By all means.
Giving way and congratulate him for staying in post for as long as he has. Quite unusual for housing ministers on that side, I should say. What can he say, though, to Greater Manchester, who apparently have been told that the government are withdrawing their offer of £68 million to remediate brownfield sites?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, as the honourable gentleman knows, we're in ongoing discussions with Manchester about their housing ambition. But one of the frustrations in that conversation is the unwillingness of the Mayor of Manchester to take responsibility for housing figures in that city. And, as I say, if he's willing to be ambitious, we'd be willing to support him as well. Now, in addition to our Affordable Homes Guarantee Scheme, which gives £3 billion of guaranteed support, making it cheaper and easier for housing associations to raise funds and get building, we are increasing supply as the means to make the most of the space we already have, including land that's already been built on. It's with that in mind that the planning proposals and consultations announced in the autumn statement aim to give people more flexibility to build upwards on existing buildings and converting commercial properties. It's a positive step that ensures we conserve precious land, accelerate supply and help revive our high streets. We're also looking at how we close the gap between planning permissions and homes built, and we'll be taking action off the back of the review by the member for West Dorset to do just that, by all means.
Grateful to my honourable friend to give way. I just want to distract him onto one particular area of this. One of the big problems that we've had is that the building regulations are set against this new type of home, which are the prefab homes made out of wood or steel, which can be built throughout the year and would accelerate the whole building programme and are ecologically far better than brick-built houses. And yet they tell me every time that they find they have to make all sorts of adjustments just to meet the building regulations. Would he undertake to look at that? Because this would accelerate the whole process of house building and make it much, much more affordable too.
The honourable gentleman, with his usual wisdom, has prefaced the part of my speech that I'm just moving on to, because he is quite right that we believe modern methods of construction do hold out enormous potential for not only producing more homes but producing them faster and better. And certainly I went to visit a factory recently in Walsall in the West Midlands where Accord Homes are building 1,000 homes a year out of that factory using modern methods of construction. And so good are the environmental standards that in those homes for social rent they have lower arrears because people can afford to heat them. And it's something we are backing through our £4.5 billion home building funds, £2.5 billion of which is to champion SMEs, custom and more diverse builders to get modern methods of construction and other cutting-edge tech into the mainstream. The fund already has allocated all of the original £1 billion short-term funding. Over 94% of the funding contracted to date has gone to SME builders. We expect it to deliver more than 30,000 homes, around 5,000 more than the original target.
Mr. for giving way, and the Minister's quite right. We're going to need a whole variety of different types of houses and tenures to hit the 300,000 target. How many homes does the Minister think will be built for social housing, not affordable housing, but social housing in the rest of this Parliament? What is his plan?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm constantly asked about what targets might be for particular types of housing. And while 12,500 is a minimum amount that's due to come out of the Affordable Homes programme, we hope and believe that the aspiration may be more, not least because we've taken the cap off the housing revenue account, and it's therefore up to the ambition of councils to do it. Now, I would love, as the chairman of the Select Committee knows, I would love to sit in my office in Whitehall and plan the country. The Malthouse period of planning, that I could plan in his constituency as I could in mine and decree what all these targets may be. But as he knows, there are numerous housing markets in the UK, probably 30 or 40 alone in the capital, that all operate in a different way, lots of variable sites that all have their own issues and problems that need to be dealt with. And so setting a standard target across the country as an aspiration. But we have said that by setting councils free to build a new generation of social homes, by investing enormous amounts of money in the Affordable Homes programme, which can also be for social homes, that we hope and believe that that tenure will advance and increase to play its part in the 300,000 that's coming, we hope, in the years ahead. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm mindful that with such a dramatic increase in supply, the more we build, the more important it is that we get it right. And it's why we're focused on building better. A key part of that is communities having a bigger role in shaping the future of the places they call home. We're making changes to our planning system, in particular the planning rule book, so they can do this. We're providing greater clarity and certainty for developers and communities alike by giving local areas more options and the freedom and flexibility to make effective use of the land they have. Because it's crucial, if we're to reassure communities that promises made on the provision of affordable housing and infrastructure will be promises kept. Keeping promises is the only way communities will continue to have faith in new developments.
Thank you, Minister, for giving way. I think in March last year, the Secretary of State wrote to 15 local authorities that hadn't submitted local plans. I understand, as of now, a year later, 10 of those have. Should the government be doing more to pressurise all local authorities to make sure they submit local plans to plan housing for their areas?
Well, I'm grateful for the honourable gentleman. Yet again, he shows his legendary impatience to build the homes that the next generation needs. And he's quite right that we are urging, cajoling and pushing councils across the country to get their plans in place. We hope and believe that a plan-led system will produce more better homes across the country, and also, frankly, that when a local authority puts its weight behind a plan and starts to think in decadal terms, perhaps, about how its area should look and how they should plan for homes, then we're able to help them with infrastructure. And in particular, we've seen that in parts of the country from Carlisle to Exeter to Oxfordshire, where forward-thinking civic leaders who are able to think 10, 15, 20 years ahead are then able to come alongside us for big infrastructure asks and assistance and large cheques, frankly, being written to assist them with that sort of ambition. But, yes, go on.
To the Minister for giving way. On neglected areas of housing which don't get much ministerial airtime, can I ask him firstly about new homes for people who are elderly? What further funding does his department intend to allocate? And also, housing cooperatives rarely get any attention in this House. Would he...
Order. Before the honourable gentleman, can't continue because it's too long an intervention. Before the Minister answers him, I must point out to the House, this is a very short debate for obvious reasons. We have to finish in an hour and 20 minutes. I have 15 people who have indicated to me that they want to speak. At present, that gives each backbencher 3 minutes. If people who are not intending to stay for the whole debate and not intending to speak make interventions of more than a minute, then there will be people at the end of the list who won't get to speak at all. It's not up to me, it's up to the House as a whole to decide how we're going to conduct this debate. Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the honourable gentleman raises a very pertinent point. As I tour the country, and I do go to lots of places where there's significant brownfield land on all parts of the country, one of the cries I hear from people in meetings is, where have all the bungalows gone? And it's a proxy for where is the move-on space for older people whose children perhaps have left or who feel they need to downsize. And we are keen to try and stimulate and encourage, if you like, a less-than-prime market that provides the kind of homes that older people would like to occupy. But key to that will be encouraging more participants in the house-building market, as well as giving local authorities, as we have in the NPPF, the power to devise in their plans the type of housing that they need. And it's perfectly possible for his local authority to signal in their plan that that is the kind of housing that they require. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, we have also seen how community support increases when we build homes that grow a sense of place rather than undermine it. It's why we're championing design and quality through the Building Better, Building Beautiful Commission. And it's something we've reinforced in February when we hosted a second National Design Conference. It's increasingly important as we create new settlements across the country, such as garden communities, and last month we announced support for a further 5 garden towns with the potential to deliver up to 65,000 homes, in addition to the 23 locally led garden communities we're already supporting. But it's not just about getting numbers up. We're determined to put fairness back at the heart of the housing market. Our commitment to restore the dream of home ownership remains as strong as ever. It's why we've committed to a new Help to Buy scheme, which will run from April 2021 until 2023. We've cut stamp duty for first-time buyers and put a call out for evidence on innovation in shared ownership. And we believe the private rental market can also be a stronger platform for those aspiring to home ownership, turning generation rent into generation own. Yes.
Thank you for giving way, Minister. When I met the Minister recently, he assured me that government housing estimates were not a target. Yet within hours of that meeting, his own department informed Greater Manchester Combined Authority that its housing deal was being scrapped because the new housing estimates were not sufficient. How does the Minister justify that contradictory statement?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, I think the honourable gentleman is confusing two things. He is quite right that the standard assessment of housing need is meant to be a starting point from which councils assess, plus or minus, what they think they can address, subject to constraints and their other duties in the planning system. But that is separate from the housing deal that the government is doing, and we're using the money available for those deals to stimulate ambition, that local authorities should deliver more than would otherwise be delivered in their plan, and can justify the need for infrastructure on that basis. And we've done successful deals with Oxfordshire, for example, and we're having a number of conversations. But critical to this is stimulating and encouraging every part of the country to play its part in building the homes the next generation needs by being ambitious about their targets. Yes.
Minister for giving way. Just about talking about being ambitious and setting targets. Does he accept the figure in the shelter report, the Commission, in January, which stated we needed to build 155,000 social homes a year for the next 20 years? Does he accept that?
I accept that we need to build a hell of a lot more homes of all types Madam Deputy Speaker, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We have created, or are in the process of creating, a situation where everyone who wants to build can build and can seek assistance from the government to do so if they are willing to be ambitious, from the private sector to housing associations to councils to anybody who wants to build. We do think this problem is so acute that we cannot be partial about who gets to build the homes. Yes.
Giving way, and I'm sorry I come in a little bit late, I was held up. But following on that point about encouraging local authorities to build, exactly what help can they give local authorities to build social housing? Because I've had a number of people who are homeless come to my surgeries, families, desperate for accommodation, but local authorities have not got the resources. How is he going to provide those resources?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I hope the honourable gentleman knows, we did lift the borrowing cap on local councils, so they can now borrow to build a generation of new homes. But in fact, we have opened up the Affordable Homes Programme to councils to bid in for government money grant funding so that they can seek to build social homes, and I'm more than happy to write to him with details of how his council can access that. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, back to ownership. Back to ownership. As I said, I wanted to turn generation rent into generation own, but we also believe that fairness shouldn't stop just once you get the keys. That's why the Secretary of State unveiled a new industry pledge last month to bring an end to onerous lease terms, such as the doubling of ground rents. More than 40 leading developers and freeholders have already signed that pledge, and I encourage others to follow the lead. And we're bringing forward legislation to require developers to belong to a new homes ombudsman, to champion the rights of home buyers and ensure that they get the quality of build they rightly expect. We'll soon be consulting on how this will work so we can ensure consumers' problems are resolved faster and more effectively. By all means.
Can I, on behalf of people on both sides of the House, welcome what my honourable friend has said and thank the Secretary of State and the Housing Minister for their work on this. Can I ask him if he or one of his colleagues will make a statement as soon as Homes England approves commonhold houses for Help to Buy? And can he make a statement when the Land Registry can easily register commonhold associations? Because at present there's one development on the way which is being blocked because the Land Registry has forgotten how to do it.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Right Honourable Gentleman in his customary manner has raised an important but detailed point, and I will certainly go away and ascertain what the timetable might be and keep him posted as to where things might go next. Yes.
For giving way. Would he accept that generation own is particularly challenging in areas like the South Hams in my constituency, which has the highest property price to earnings ratio in the South West at 11.7, and part of that is driven by having second home ownership. Can you just touch on what can be done where the impact of second home ownership is particularly high to make it an affordable dream for young families?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Lady does raise an issue which in certain parts of the country, also in my constituency, can have an impact, albeit I think sometimes overstated. Having said that, the Government has taken steps, for example, giving councils the power to charge premium council tax on empty homes and indeed on second homes that should help with that issue. But in the end, in areas like hers, much of the problem, most of the problem will be solved by increasing supply. I recently attended a meeting with the CPRE down in her part of the world, where I tried to explain to 240 people there who were not best pleased at the idea of having a significant number of homes in their area that this was their moral duty to the next generation, that they needed to accept the homes, control them, design them well, make them fit in and enhance their local communities, because in the end we have got a growing population, and in popular areas where people do want to live and where young people are often driven out, the solution will be to build more new homes. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, the picture is happily also improving for renters. We're cracking down on rogue landlords, and from the 1st of June, the Tenant Fees Act will come into force, banning unfair letting fees and capping deposits. These are vital steps that will protect tenants and save them millions. We will also shortly set out our position on longer-term tenancies, because those in the private rental sector can face a high degree of insecurity. It's time we put that right, and indeed landlords could also benefit from more stability. But as well as feeling more secure, nothing is more important than people being safe in their homes. So we'll also be implementing a new regulatory framework for building safety. It's no small task, but it is the debt we owe to those who suffered so terribly at Grenfell fire, because everyone must be safe and feel safe in their home, no matter where they live.
very grateful to the Minister for giving way. He knows that I have residents at New Providence Wharf who are being pressured by Ballymore to pay for the removal and replacement of defective cladding. The Minister has kindly looked at this issue. Can he assure us the Government will continue to press companies to accept their responsibility and accept the cost? And can he give us any progress about the position, particularly at New Providence Wharf?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, the honourable gentleman has met with me to press the case of his constituents, and in turn I have raised this issue face-to-face with the representative of Ballymore. We continue to put pressure on the industry generally to do their duty with regards to leaseholders and to remediate critically to make sure that everybody is safe in their homes. But I'm more than happy to write with him with progress we're making generally on this issue in the next few days. Yeah.
A further intervention on Grenfell, and could he confirm that every single tenant has been housed who was made homeless as a result of the terrible fire in the Grenfell block?
Sadly, Madam Deputy Speaker, I can't quite confirm that number. We are very close to completing the rehousing of everybody who was involved in the Grenfell tower, but at the moment, no, the numbers remaining are small and the cases are often complex. We are making significant progress. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, I am also mindful of those without a place to call home. When I reflect on where we can do better, I am clear that we must continue to do everything possible to confront rough sleeping and the broader challenges of homelessness. Our cross-government £100 million rough sleeping strategy is helping our rough sleeping initiative reach more parts of the country. Now over 75% of local authorities in England. As part of this, we announced £46 million to support people off the streets and into accommodation in 1920, because we've already seen how this can work and make a real difference. Recent figures have shown the first fall in the number of people sleeping rough in 8 years. But please make no mistake, one person sleeping rough is one person too many, and we remain more determined than ever to end rough sleeping for good. This also means combating homelessness, and our ambitious £1.2 billion package of support will help tackle this in all its forms, giving some of the most vulnerable people in our society the security and dignity they support.
Minister, while he's on the subject of homelessness, will he also urgently review the issue of permitted development, which is allowing for some homeless families, including those living, for example, in Terminus House in Harlow, to be housed in wholly inappropriate accommodation and bringing their children up in what is a new slum? The permitted development regulations need to be looked at urgently.
Yeah. Madam Deputy Speaker, we have made a commitment to review the implementation of the permitted development rights policy, but alongside that I would urge local authorities to make sure that they are using the maximum power available to them through their building regulation powers and other forms of inspection to make sure that homes that people are inhabiting are suitable, but also that local authorities who are placing people in those homes reassure themselves that they are suitable for occupation. Very often we have found that those people who are placed in homes that are unsuitable are placed there by councils who frankly should know better and should be seeking higher quality accommodation for their residents. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I hope I've illustrated, we are making every effort to get everyone on board to deliver not just more homes but stronger communities. My triple challenge of more, better, faster is the key to this country's happiness, health and prosperity, and the work is starting to pay off. The numbers of homes built is up. Rough sleeping is on the turn. Greater fairness is in the rented sector, and more beautiful and innovative places to call home should start to appear. We have every reason to be confident and optimistic as we look forward to our future outside the European Union. A stronger, fairer, more diverse housing market can be the bedrock of our future success, a way to spread opportunity and ensure no one is left behind. We remain focused on delivering this and fulfilling the basic promise that each generation must make to the next, which is that their life will be better than ours.
The question is that this House has considered housing. John Healey.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm really glad to